Good morning. This is Jason Dean here coming at you again for another Film Fanatic Bonanza. It is Monday at about 9:34. It's a beautiful day. We actually had a really beautiful weekend. It's a beautiful day today. It's supposed to be really nice all week. It was in the 70s yesterday and last night, and I think it's going to be in the 70s today. It's about freaking time. So it's been a long, drawn out winter. Not We didn't have a whole lot of snow this winter, but it was pretty cold, and just the season kind of lasts. Feels like it just lasts longer. The winter season just seems like it never ends. And we've been in spring now for quite a while, so it's kind of crazy. And it's just starting to get pretty nice, so we'll see. But yeah, I want to thank everybody again for their support here on this channel, Film Fanatic, my YouTube page. I really love that there's been more folks, coming on board, subscribing to the channel, and really, I'm really loving the people commenting on the different videos. I try to put out a video every day. I pretty much do. I stick to it, with the exception of when, I might have, schedule wise, I might have something in the way, or, I might be a little too busy that day. But generally, I do a video every day. I did a video yesterday. I actually did two videos yesterday. And one I did in the morning, and I just posted that this morning. And I'm working on the second one right now. So the one I did yesterday, it was funny. I started out, I was gonna do a regular movie review, but then I started talking about, sometimes I do that maybe a little too much, but I started talking about some other things related to films and especially around music things. So I decided to scrap the idea of doing a regular movie review. So I just turned it into like a stream of consciousness, rant. And I just talked about a bunch of different things around my mind. Mostly, they're all related to film and music, and the process of creating music. What the film or films, or what films mean to me, how I think of those films, and then I was talking about kind of the industry, the music industry itself or the film industry, how they're connected. And also, I was talking a lot about one of the big things for me is going to see live music. And for me, that's usually, at the end of the day, even more so than recorded albums of particular bands that I check out, that I dig. If I get a chance to see them live, that's usually the big selling point for me. So I talked all about those things, and that was a lot of fun. And that I try to do when I'm doing these videos, I try to mix things up. I try to do some specialty videos where I'm doing things that are not necessarily film reviews. So that was one, and I uploaded that today. I think it came out pretty fun. It's a little bit all over the place, but I think it's pretty. I think everything is connected pretty well. And then later on in the day, yesterday around 2 o'clock, I did that video I just mentioned. I did that in the morning, and then later on in the day, I had a really really big show lined up, and I was having my favorite thing to do on this channel is the interview segments. I That is my really my passion. I enjoy it more and more. And that's kind of where I want to move this channel. I want to move it to hopefully a new level, at some point. And I feel like I had the opportunity yesterday to to do an interview with a woman, an actress who is I think, in one of the greatest and most iconic horror films of all time. So I was really excited. And I'm still not going to mention it until everything is ready and I have everything uploaded. I've been having some problems with my computer. So with all the things that happened before I shot the video, it actually came together, and we actually did record the video. But it was a fiasco before that. I had all of these major problems with my computer. I One of the things too is I'm not very experienced doing the interview videos that way through Zoom, and then also recording them and making sure that whole thing is together, because obviously that needs to be done. So I had problems with that at the second stage, but the main problem that I had in the beginning was my connection here was really bad, and I was having all these issues. So I ended up having to go to my parents' house. Pretty funny. And then I got some assistance from a friend, and to kind of help me through it, and then I was able to set it up. And eventually, it took probably for me to actually get the video up and running to where we were actually running and recording the video, the interview. It took me about 4 hours. And my problem with computers is I feel like I'm kind of an idiot most of the times and especially when it comes to technology. And I have a hard time with patience around computers. But that being said, I realize it's something, that format, that way of recording the videos is very new for me. So I need to, get better at it, just get a more professional sense and just an understanding as to what the hell I'm doing to make it a real thing. But the video was actually recorded, and I think it came out pretty good. I think it's had a little bit of a rough start. We unfortunately, fortunately, the guest I had on the show, she was super cool and flexible. We got a late start because of me. We got about a half hour. We were shooting for 2 o'clock, but we didn't get started about 2:30. But she was super cool, flexible, and very helpful. And then when we actually recorded the video, I think she was amazing. So stay tuned for that. I'm in the process now of uploading the video, and there'll be a huge. It'll be basically shared to as many areas as I can, and I'm going to really promote the heck out of it. What I envision, knock on wood, things are sometimes easier said than done, but what I envision with this channel is that, if it works out, and I think it worked out for the most part, being that it's my first video of kind of where I want this channel to be. My goal with this channel was to really try to break into actually having people that are involved with a lot of these classic movies that I love. Whether it's actors, directors, cinematographers, people that actually work directly in some of these films I talk about. Movies that I hold at the highest regard, movies that I love, movies that I watch over and over again, movies that I spend lots of money on, movies that are an endless source of inspiration for me. So I'm hoping what I envision with, and I know it will take time, but what I envision with this channel is that I can have this kind of elevated platform to where I can have interviews with people who have been directly involved with these movies, and to try to have that whole the content and the quality of the interviews to be at a higher level. So that's my goal, and fingers crossed, I'm thinking that this will be, even though it was off to a very chaotic start, mostly, well, because of me, because on my end, but it did finally happen. And so what I'm hoping that this will be a start to where I can take this channel to another phase, a whole nother level of where I can, you know, have featured guests that are legitimate, stars in these beloved films of mine. And, it takes a very long time to, I mean, aside from actually doing the videos and obviously the problems that I, I had yesterday and the problems I have with technology in general, I need to learn and get more familiar. I just need to do it more. But also the hurdles of scheduling things, that can be really hard and tough with people's lives, and especially people in the industry itself. But I think with a little bit of patience and time and perseverance, I think I can make this work. And again, I really, really am indebted to the people who support this channel and all the crazy, weird things that I do, particularly around my band Quantum. The albums that we've put out, my little record label that I've started years back when we started the band, Berenice Records, supporting that band, that label, supporting our shows by coming out to them and also buying our music, and also my other huge interest doing these videos with my Film Fanatic page. Originally where it started on Facebook, which still is going strong, and then eventually Instagram, my Instagram page, and then now the YouTube channel, which is now the main focus of all of this craziness. And I realize, you know, I can't do everything, goals and being focused on specific goals. It just takes time. It takes time, baby steps, but you just need to keep working at those things a little bit every day, or if you can, a lot every day. And because I do believe the more you put yourself into something, the more you learn. And really it just comes down to rolling up your sleeves and putting in the time, and trying to work hard onto to try to attain those goals that you desire. And I think, so with all of these things that I've been doing and where I'm trying to get the channel and where I think it could be going, I really am indebted to the friends that I have in this community here in Midcoast, Maine, and for the support for me doing these things that are kind of on the fringe side of things. They're not outwardly commercially viable, I guess. They're always a little bit on the fringe side. So, and then as well as all of the folks that have supported these things and around this channel, that I haven't actually met, but have been very vocal in supporting this channel. So, moving into this next phase and these new things that I'm trying to explore, I really am indebted to the folks out there. So I really appreciate friends and family and people on the World Wide Web, just in general, that are really supportive. And I can't do this stuff without the support of all of you guys and girls. So I really appreciate that. So today's show is going to be about a movie that I saw at the Waldo Theater. The Waldo Theater is, I think, one of the biggest surprises of the new year. Actually, last year, but I look at it as a big surprise. One of the coolest developments of this year, I think. That I kind of think of it as more in this year, 2023. The Waldo Theater is located in Waldoboro, Maine, and Waldoboro, Maine is a very, very, very sleepy, quiet little town in Maine, and it's about 50 minutes to an hour away from my house. And there's a couple little shops. There's a little restaurant. There's not much going on, and there's been this theater that has been in existence in Waldoboro for a very long time, that was not doing very well as far as structurally, like literally, it was kind of falling apart. But they weren't really doing anything to have shows, movies, music, anything. But there's been this huge renaissance at this place, and now they poured a bunch of money into this place. They have this incredible state of the art sound system. They redid the whole inside, and it is a gorgeous place for me. And they're having many upcoming music events there. John Waters, one of the most iconic directors ever, is going to be at the Waldo Theater for 2 nights. It's crazy. Henry Rollins is going to be there in I think July or August. And there's this group that is running things that's running a lot of the movie programs that they have there called Waldo After Dark, and they are just amazing. I just think what they're doing is so tremendous, and they're really specializing. All of the movies that they show are basically, 70s and 80s low budget exploitation movies, and I'm just blown away by the selection of movies that they're showing. I've been going there as much as I can, and I've seen quite a few films I've never seen before, and then also being able to see these incredibly low budget films with these incredibly low budget exploitation movies, but seeing them in this you know projected on this like amazing screen with this amazing sound system is incredible. And for me, it's my favorite theater to go to. I think it's awesome. The sound in there is just it's the best. I think it's the best sounding theater that I know of here in Maine right now, with the exception of like if you go for an IMAX experience. The closest IMAX is about almost 2 hours away, so I don't really get a chance to do IMAX. IMAX is incredible. I wish I could do that more often, but as far as more localized theaters, it is, I think, Head and Shoulders the best theater that there is. You get the best experience for your dollar, and their movie selection is just incredible. I went on Saturday to see this movie I had heard about, but I had never seen it. It's called Samurai Cop from 1991. And this movie is just unbelievable. It was directed by Amir Shervan, and it came out, like I said, in 1991. And this movie is completely hilarious. I was just completely blown away by how fun this movie was, how completely ridiculous the movie is. It stars Robert Z'Dar, who is one of the most iconic actors in the world of horror exploitation. I mean, he really is one of the greats. He has just his presence on screen is kind of mind blowing. Robert Z'Dar, like I said, is he's one of my favorites. His track record, his most famous movie was probably Maniac Cop, or is Maniac Cop, I would say, and just an iconic slasher movie from 1980, 1988, and one of the most iconic slasher movies of the 80s, directed by one of my favorite directors, William Leslie, William Leswig or Bill Leswig. Just one of, just a real super important figure in the world of horror exploitation, especially in the slasher genre. Bill Luswig directed Maniac, which is my all-time favorite slasher movie. But Robert Z'Dar is just, I mean, his presence on screen is just incredible. He's intimidating. He is scary. He has this very frightening presence. He's also he's got this like leading man quality to him. Also, he's also like got this like certain kind of sex appeal which you wouldn't think he would have, but and he's very funny. He's got a real comedic kind of delivery. So Maniac Cop, which came out in 1988, was one of probably his biggest role. Maniac Cop 2, he was in Maniac Cop became a huge franchise after the first one. They're all just amazing movies. Maniac Cop 3, Tango and Cash, he was in that. Then Samurai Cop 91, American Killing American Style in 1990, Future War in 97. He's still around. He's still pretty prolific as an actor. Soul Taker in 1990, Young Rebels, The Final Sanction in 1990, Wolf Mountain, High on the High on the Hog. Just an incredible actor. The cast for Samurai Cop is just badass. Matt Hannon, who plays Joe Marshall, and Mark Frazier, who plays Frank Washington. Matt Hannon plays the Samurai Cop, and the chemistry between Matt Hannon and Mark Frazier on screen is amazing. Like this movie is so goddamn funny, and it's exactly what the title says is what you get. I mean, it literally is. The basic scenario is that it takes place in, it's feels like it takes place in L.A. and it's basically centered on this Japanese organization, this Japanese crime organization that are they're peddling all of these hardcore drugs, and but they also employ the methods of the samurai. They hire samurai assassins basically to keep everyone in check and to kill people and to rule with an iron fist. And the normal everyday police enforcement can't really fight properly against this organization, so they employ this samurai cop who is played by Matt Hannon, and it's hilarious. Like it's just unbelievable. Gerald Okumura is also in this film. He's been in lots of Hong Kong action movies. Melissa Moore is also in this film. Janice Farley, was it Jose Lito Rescobar, is super funny in this. He plays this waiter, and there's this whole sequence where he's like this really over the top kind of flamboyant gay character, and oh my god, there were times when I had never seen this movie before, and I saw it on Saturday. I went with my great friend Aaron Kirkpatrick, who is another fellow film fanatic, and we were just pissing our pants laughing at times. Like it's been a while since I've gone to a movie and where I've laughed that hard. I was like literally There were moments where I was laughing so hard that I like was almost on the ground. Like and I have to say, with the cast being so great as it is, and the whole ridiculousness of this movie is just so amazing. My favorite character in this is Captain Romer, who is played by Dale Cummings. He's the captain of the police squad, and he's essentially in charge of the case, and he's the samurai cop's boss. And his lines and his whole like demeanor on screen is something to be seen. Like it is so funny and just so ridiculously hilarious. Like some of the funniest shit I've seen in a very very long time. And his chemistry on screen is like amazing. Like, and there's one point at one point during one of these scenes where he's in the office and he's just tearing everybody a new asshole. You can see where he like almost starts cracking up because he knows the lines, the dialogue for like the comedic aspects for this film are genius. And there's a couple of moments where he's like in the scene and you can see where he starts losing it and he starts kind of laughing at his own lines because he realizes how funny and just how ridiculous this whole thing is. And I love that they didn't edit it. That's one of the awesome things. Another reason why I love these exploitation movies so much and these super low budget movies is because it's pure guerrilla filmmaking. Like these guys are just having a really great time making this film. You can tell that when this film was shot, they were having a really good time, and it's that kind of vibe I feel like watching this movie is at least for me being part of the audience is infectious, and I love that if it was like, say for instance, that scene with Dale Cummings playing the cop, and where he is actively, towards the end of the scene, because the dialogue is so freaking hilarious, and the whole scene is just so ridiculous, where you see him actually cracking up. If it was typically done in if that movie or that scene was handled by, say, I don't know, quote unquote, like highbrow Hollywood film director, they would have obviously completely cut that scene out and maybe put that scene, on like a blooper reel, on the DVD or the Blu-ray release, or it would just be gone forever. But it would have been edited, it would have been gone. And I love that's to me that's one of the beauties of the exploitation world, is because a lot of the times that I see in a lot of these great films is that stuff is not edited out. It's left in there. And you can see these like you can basically see these fuck ups that happen during during the screen time in certain scenes, but it just adds so much to the charm and and the feeling of where it's so much fun by keeping those scenes in. And to me, that's one of the greatest aspects of why I love these films so much, and they are my favorite films. And also, the other reason that I would say that things like that are not edited out in the world of exploitation is they have the directors, the creators of these films have no budget, so they probably just literally do not have the luxury of cutting out and cutting out a particular scene and doing numerous takes. They're like one and go. They just set up, they do it, they go for it. They're filled with all kinds of passion and imagination. They're taking the project very seriously on one hand, but on the other hand, they're not taking what they do seriously at all, and they might not have a real technical grasp of what it means to be a filmmaker, but who fucking cares? It's like it just works, and it's wonderful, and that's to me, that's what separates the world of exploitation from like more conventional films, which again I love, but it's a very different, kind of a totally different world. I always equate it to like, it's like putting on a classic punk rock album. You're going to hear those mistakes. You're going to hear, you're going to see you're going to feel and hear the hiccups along the way, but it just adds to the beauty uh, of why these films rule. And it's just amazing. And again, I had never seen this film. I had heard about it. Just totally awesome, totally awesome. And I'm really excited. One of the next movies they're going to be showing at Waldo After Dark is they're going to be showing Maniac Cop, starring Robert Zadar, which is such a badass movie. One of my all-time favorite slasher movies. I own that on Blu-ray, and that's one of my favorites. I did a show on this page about that film. I think a few months ago. So I mean, where the hell else are you gonna go? Are you gonna find a movie theater that's gonna be showing this wonderful crap? I mean, just so awesome. And so I think it's, for me, being a fan of film and all the things that entails. This is one of the best developments that's happened. One of the most positive things that's happened for our community. And I've noticed too, since the first time I went there, It was in October, I think, of last year. And since I've gone to probably about 3 or 4 films, and over time since I've been going there a little bit more, and I'm trying to go more often, I've noticed that there's been more and more people showing up. There's been a little bit more buzz, and I feel like it's growing because these movies are, they're not for everyone. They're out there and they're crazy. They're not conventional by any means, but they're so goddamn entertaining, and they're just these little beautiful little underground gems that I just think are amazing. So and I think, there are people out there that who go to the movies that want a really different experience. They'll go to they'll go to other theaters to see, big budget films. Go see Marvel movies like the new Guardians of the Galaxy just opened. So you have that option, and that's a thing. But I don't think everybody. I love those films too, even though now I'm like not really excited about seeing any of those movies, even Guardians of the Galaxy, for instance, because I'm just fatigued as all hell. I need a break from Marvel movies. I just kind of can't stand it anymore. If I was talking about this Guardians of the Galaxy a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have. I'd probably be doing a review for that movie right now because it opened this past weekend. But I'm just like, I just don't. To be honest, I just don't give a shit about these movies anymore. I'll eventually see it. I love the first one. I still consider myself a Marvel fan, but it's just like, fuck, enough is enough. Like, just give it a break. Just give it a fucking break. And I just feel like since the last Marvel movie that I thought was really great, was really fantastic, was the last Spider-Man movie. That movie, and then also Endgame. After that, I haven't seen any movie that I have been blown away by. I've seen some movies that are okay, pretty decent, but I've also seen a lot of terrible movies in that franchise, and it's just there's just so many of them, and it's just like every weekend there's another fucking Marvel movie. Just take a fucking break. Take a fucking break, and this is coming from a person who is one of the biggest enthusiasts and fans of comic books. I grew up reading comic books. I still buy comic books every now and then. I am, I have seen every conceivable comic book movie that there is. I'm a huge fan. I own tons of those movies. But I've reached a point where I'm just like, take a fucking break. Like, and I think this alternative, like Although After Dark is doing, is the best alternative. Check this theater out. Check out their programs. It's the best. The best that your money. It's the best way you can spend your money. And if you want to just have a really fun time. So this is Jason Dean here at Film Fanatic. I really appreciate everyone's support. And stay tuned for the next big video coming up. And we will see you next time. Peace.